Hi, this is Henry Chamberlain, and I have a special guest. It's the founder of Black Panel Press. We're going to be talking about the great books that come out of Black Panel Press, like Al Capone. And right now, things are there's a financial difficulty, a big hiccup, and it happens to all publishers. And this is to no fault of Black Panel Press. I want to let you, Benteau, the founder of Black Panel Press, to explain what's going on.
Sure, and I want to say, first of all, thanks a lot, Henry, for having me on for suggesting this because anything like this that can help us get the word out is just super valuable because we are a very small press. So, my name is Andrew. I am the founder of Black Panel Press. And as you said, like some of the things that we've been dealing with lately have been is mainly just the Diamond Comics Chapter 11 filing for bankruptcy. And so Chapter 11 is not the worst type of bankruptcy. It's not like this is something I've had to learn over the last couple of weeks because I'm based in Canada and the system works a little bit differently in the US. But yeah, so Chapter 11 is basically reorganizing or restructuring of debt. And so Diamond is planning to continue operations. But in the meantime, all of this money that's been tied up, with book sales from 2024 is not being paid out. Anything basically before their filing date of January 14th, which comes at particularly bad timing for Black Panel Press because we've had pretty much the best year that we've ever had, and certainly the best quarter. And one of the things was we sold many copies of Shadows on the Ice to Junior Library Guild. It was a gold selection, so they bought almost 2,000 copies. And that's the most like in such a short time we've ever sold of a book. And just all of a sudden to be told, like, as a small publisher, you don't really get any of the inside information. Some people seem to have seen it coming to some extent. Others were completely blindsided, like us. And we're getting ready to print the next 3, 4 books, and then all of a sudden we're not getting paid the money that we're owed. So it was really, for a time there, it was really distressing because we don't know how we can be able to continue not receiving that money.
Well, that's a perfect way, in a nutshell, to bring this to folks' attention. And there's going to be a link to the GoFundMe page, which is
Mm.
doing well. The word is already getting out there, and so we
Hmm.
want to reach. You need to reach your goal, and just go from there. I know you have a
Yeah.
plan, and this is just a major hiccup, no fault of your own. We can maybe get into the weeds a little bit as
Hmm.
to how this happens. I was really shocked that the money is so tied in
Hmm.
with Diamond. I don't think a lot of aspiring cartoonists or maybe even pro cartoonists realize how the money is tied in with Diamond in such a
Yeah.
way that now you're not going to be able to recover that money.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the way that we've set up. We have tried to do some Kickstarters in the past, and we've done pretty well with Kickstarters launching books, especially in the early days of Black Panel Press. But ever since then, it's really been just trying to develop that the bookstore market, our presence there, in libraries and in comic shops. So all of that goes through Diamond, and basically, when we pay to print a book, we pay for that printing. It'll be on the shelves, best case 3 months in the future. It sells, ships, and is invoice, and so that's another 30 days. So, that's a difficult cycle to get used to. And then if anything interrupts that, yeah, it can be really detrimental to any progress.
Now, I want to say I have a lot of experience with boutique small press publishers. I know a lot about Fantagraphics. Back
Hmm.
in the day, Top Shelf, so dear to the hearts of everyone. Now it's with IDW, but
Hmm.
I know a lot. I have to give myself credit for that, but there's a lot I don't know as well.
Hmm.
And what I'm struck by is the attention to detail on the composition, the layout of each book you guys produce. They're all gems, and then you do have a really good a masterful touch on marketing. You have an advertising background, and so and you do coaching on how to help people. So it's not like you don't know your stuff. You guys do know
Hmm.
your stuff.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. I mean, it doesn't always feel that way because it's a very challenging business. Um, on the I definitely wouldn't use the word masterful, but I have been in advertising for a while, and I do try to bring that knowledge as much as possible over to the world of comics. It is a really challenging business just because your cost of goods sold, printing costs are very high, almost 50% of the revenue, that we generate. And then you have a lot of competition. You have more books being published than ever before. And so it's it was really rewarding to get to a point where we've kind of worked out our model and our formula, what kind of books we're going to put together and offer to the market. And it's not an easy thing to do. And then to be kind of like, coming back to the diamond thing is completely just surprised at what's happened and not able to do anything. None of it is in our direct control to be able to improve the situation.
I want to just show some JPEGs. I will be doing
Yeah.
that when I edit this of some of the greatest hits of Black Panel
Okay.
Press. I keep coming back to Al Capone because it's something that ties into what I like to do. I like to go into the weeds on a particular
My
subject.
copy.
So Al Capone is so well put together in the
Oh,
sense
thank you.
that it's a quirky look from a particular vantage point of his life. And maybe just give us a little taste about this book as an entry point for folks who may not be
Mhm.
familiar with what Black Panel Press does.
Yeah, I think that one was a really popular book, more than I had expected, because it is a weird, quirky, cartoonish take on Al Capone, which you'd almost expect it to be drawn in a more realistic style. And uh, and I think in France they really positioned this book as a real true story. And I think I've done my best to, because after some extensive research, found that a lot of these stories in the book and others, they're either rumors or there's some hint of them. It's not very easy to verify a lot of things, especially about Al Capone's early life. So that was a really fun book. We did a Kickstarter for that one as well, and we had some cool rewards. That we had the brass bookmark done for that, and yeah, so it's a really fun title. It's also it has an important theme, I think, which is talking about truth, and especially nowadays with so much fake news. I don't know if that was on my end, a little noise if you're hearing that.
No,
But yeah, because it actually challenges the reader to evaluate what is true, what is false, like how something can be true to one person and not to another. And I think,
exactly.
yeah, it's a fun title.
Yeah, because these rumors or
Mm.
lies take on a life of their own, and then they just keep passing down from one generation to the next.
Yeah, that's right. So like, I know that was interesting when I was researching the book. I think it's his niece, Al Capone's niece, that cast doubt on, because one of the things with Al Capone is towards the end of his life, he was diagnosed with syphilis, and so yeah, I think it's his niece. So you'll have to maybe have to fact check this. Now it's been a while since I worked on this book, but
Hmm.
she said actually it wasn't the case. He was treated for another illness with mercury, and that's what led to the symptoms that seemed to be syphilis. And so he never had, and this is her position, is he never had syphilis. So I think it's just really interesting. It's even still to this day, we have these different conflicting stories being told. And, who knows what the truth was, because now some of these things, they're too far gone to verify.
One of the things that really strikes me about Black Panel Press is that you guys do different translations. It's not
Mhm.
just in English, and that's a very distinctive thing. And you got into the idea of doing your own thing, your own publishing house, because you went to, I believe you did a trip to France and you got to see how things were done there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You've really done your research, huh? So, yeah, I was in one part of that story that I don't always tell is I was actually looking for an internship when I was in France. And I think my French at that time was not very good. And the publisher, Jose at Tartamudo, I met with him and I quickly got the idea that they weren't in a position to hire anyone. They're like me. It's a very small publishing house. And so then he said, first he mentioned working as an agent, and that just became publisher. It seemed to be make the most sense rather than I didn't know what publishing agents really did at that point. So it just seemed to me, yeah, these books have done well in France. They seem really well illustrated. If you one of the books, the first one that we ever did is Ancient Astronauts, which was by Vincent Pompetti, and it's all done in color ink, very similar to watercolor technique. So it's just absolutely gorgeous. I thought we don't have this kind of stuff in North American comics, or at least I had never seen it, right? And that's what prompted me to say, well, I think there could be a market for this. And I think it's important to share these different types of stories to North America. And so that's why I said, well, we'll give it a go with the first book. And that just turned into Black Panel Press, which we've done 24 books until now.
So at the forefront is the GoFundMe campaign and getting you guys back on track. Can
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about, and we're going to just assume that things are going to work out. I really think you've got the momentum. So just a matter
I
of
hope
keeping
so.
that going. Can you tell us about the titles that you're looking forward to for 2025 going into 2026?
Sure. Yeah. And let me pull them up on the website. There's four in particular, which I think are really interesting. And so the next one we have is Hanging On by a Thread. That's going to be in March. So that one we've already shipped to Diamond, and Diamond is saying that anything that's shipped from now on, we should be paid for. You know, obviously, I have some doubts about that. I have to take some precautions, but hopefully that's the case, and that will certainly help a lot. So, Hanging On by a Thread is a book that's by an art student that was based in Toulouse, in France. She's Lebanese, but she had lymphoma, and so wrote an autobiography as her master's thesis about the whole process of losing her hair and losing her kind of sense of femininity, and just also growing up in Lebanon at that time. So this is it's a really thick one, hardcover. Actually, I think I have a, if you don't mind, I might have one here. Yep, I do. All right, so this is the proof copy.
Oh,
So here it is, a new version, because the original had a little bit of nudity on the cover, which in the U.S. and Canada can be a little bit problematic sometimes. So that one is for March. I can send you all those cover files afterwards. And then, so we had one thing I do want to mention. We pushed off a lot of the release dates by 2 months because of the issues with Diamond. Because we're hoping that by buying a little bit more time for Black Panel Press, we'll be able to find through the GoFundMe and some other things that we're trying to do, come up with the money to be able to print those. So for now, 8 weeks, and so far, I think, like you said, I think we'll be all right. If it continues like this, although we've had a really good two first days, so we're far from out of the woods at this point, but so we could still use all the help we can get, but it's really good progress and very encouraging for the first couple of days. Anyway, I can jump into the next title after that. Originally for April, now it's going to be June. So it's Disconnect by Magnus Marklund. He's a Danish creator that I actually met at Toronto Comic Arts Festival, and he was still in art school at that time. And so this is his first completed graphic novel. It's about 160 pages. And this one, it uses a combination of traditional techniques for the penciling and the inking, combined with some digital coloring to create this story that's kind of about music, and it's about grief as two friends kind of try to process the loss of their bandmate and figure out how they can continue to make music together. So that's Disconnect. And then there's two more that I can tell you about if we had the time.
sure, sure.
Okay. Yeah, originally for May, which will be now July, two titles. One is Pushing Buttons. It's a very short title. It works, I think, really well as a fun gift because it's kind of a comment on relationships and how they kind of transform in the workplace. So it's a Margit is the main character. She ends up working for her best friend, and so the relationship kind of twists and turns, and so it's kind of a look at the dynamics of work and a friendship. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that one just from our everyday work experiences. So it's a very short one. Like I said, I think it's 76 pages. And then finally, we have a Pavel's mask, which was in French, it was Pavel's face, but it doesn't work very well in English. So this one was an Angoulême 2024. It's a lycéen, which is like high school award. And so I always feel like things that are for high school in Europe, they're often like adult themes in North America. This one is it really is kind of like a 12 and up, but it's a great story for really anyone from teen to adult, and it's about this. It's a science fiction story. It's kind of this imperial science officer, almost you could say, named Pavel. So he crash lands in a place called the La Pioza, where people are kind of more primitive, more ritualistic, and so it's kind of a story about cultural connection and bridges and learning to have mutual respect for one another. Very interesting story and very beautiful too. Because this one is kind of almost a minimalistic art style. The line work is all kind of like of uniform width. There's a lot of detail, and the colors are kind of flat on this. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's in the coming soon section of the website. And yeah, it's just a really different, interesting type of a graphic novel.
Now, just to maybe just a little bit more of a human interest element for folks. Can you maybe share with us how you came about the idea? I have to get into
Yeah.
comics. Were you always a comics guy,
Oh,
or
yeah.
did you find it later in life?
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't for the money that I got into
Yeah,
it, because it's not a very profitable industry, as I'm sure you're well aware.
yeah.
But yeah, did a business degree, so that was my background, and that's how I got into advertising and everything. But when I was a little kid, I was told, I remember it vaguely, but I ran my own little library for the neighborhood. So I just loved reading, especially anything like you have these books that are the illustrated classics. So it's like Dracula, Heidi, White Fang, all those kind of books, but they had illustrations in them. And so I guess I had a lot of books and I would rent them out to people in the neighborhood for like a nickel, right? I don't know. This was in the 90s. I don't know how much I was charging, but sometimes I wouldn't get them back. I certainly wouldn't get the nickel, but that was kind of my first, entry into entrepreneurship, if you could call it that. But I always drew, and I still do. Like I have on my personal Instagram account, I have some drawings and things, and little short web comics. And I always enjoyed comics. Like when I was a teen, it was Marvel and DC and stuff like this. And as I grew older, I kind of grew out of that a bit, and that's where when I was in France, I discovered the French style and how like they had stories about everything. And I come from a pretty small city, so we had two comic shops, and it was mostly superheroes in the comic shops. In those days, like you wouldn't see a lot of graphic novels, even Mouse and stuff. You wouldn't see that in our chapters, which is like our Barnes and Noble in Canada, right? So you wouldn't see that. So yeah, like I still one day I hope that I have a graphic novel of my own in mind, which I've kind of like fleshed out the structure of it, and I've drawn a few sketches. I would love to create that someday, but it feels like everything has been pulling me into the publishing, and I've really enjoyed publishing. But hopefully, I'll have the time and be able to focus on, just developing my own drawing and storytelling.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. Wish you well on making that dream comes true. I'm sure it will. Just a matter of sticking to it, which you know better than I wouldn't say better than me because I'm in it I'm
You've
in
been
it
at it a
deep
long
too.
time, right?
I'm in it really deep
Yeah.
myself. So, but yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
that graphic novels actually have a bigger audience that compared to superhero comics. So
Hmm.
the person who keeps up with comics single issue by single issue is actually a niche group. So your
Yeah.
biggest readership are the people who are reading the historical graphic novels, biographies, whatever. That's your biggest readership, as you know. Did you want to maybe speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, right? But I find that still people, a lot of people that they're not already sold on the idea of comics, they still just associate it with superheroes very
Mhm.
heavily in North America, right? So if you just talk to someone who's never read a graphic novel, whereas if you go again, I come back to the experience in France, is when you go to the comic shop there, or even just to the bookstore in the graphic novel section, there's all sorts of people. And so that's why, we're not definitely by no stretch the only publisher doing it. But I just think there's still so much room for introducing new types of stories and new art styles. And we haven't seen anything yet, really. I think um, there's so much more out there that we need to try to bring to people.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Is there something else you would like to share with folks at this particular time? Or?
No, I just, again, want to thank you very much for inviting me on, allowing me some space to tell everyone what we do and what we're hoping to achieve, through the GoFundMe and beyond. I can't think of really anything. Pop over to Black Panel Press and check out some books. And there is we do have this free digital graphic novel that we give away just to introduce people to Black Panel Press. So if you come on the site and you just give us your email address, and you can get one of our graphic novels for free just to start, exploring Black Panel Press a little more.
I really want to let you have the final word. So maybe if you want to add one more word after that, that's fine. But I just want to
Mhm.
point out that of all people, am going to be donating. Like I'm asking people to donate, and I haven't yet donated. It's because life is in the way at the moment. But I
Yeah.
am going to be doing that today, and
Oh,
that's what'll
thanks. Yeah.
happen to a lot of folks. They'll say, "Well, my friend will donate," or they'll figure it out. No, it's not a lock-in. It's not a
Yeah.
guarantee. Every bit helps, especially right now.
Yeah, every bit does help. I mean, we set our goal on GoFundMe at 10,000. GoFundMe has their own, I don't know how it works, but they gradually increase the goal. Like they set it at 4,000 for now, and I guess they'll increase it. We're owed 28,000 by Diamond. If we got 10,000, if that's enough to continue operating, to print the next few books and to pay out our royalties, which is very important. So yeah, we have done very well in the last day or two, but we still have a very long way to go. So, and I know times are tough for a lot of people. So it's not necessarily like if you can't donate in terms of money, if you can share, if with a friend or with your network, that's going to be huge. So any way that you can help out, I think, we're just going to be super grateful and appreciative, and we'll just be able to carry on, which is the most important thing.